We continue on our series of non-resurrectionism. We'll trace the idea of it a little bit in terms of its beginnings. Probably the most well-known view of non-resurrectionism is the one presented in the New Testament, that of the Sadducees. Who were the Sadducees? They were a Jewish sect during the Second Temple period, stretching from the 2nd century before Christ to 70 years AD. They were from wealthy priestly and aristocratic families, closely connected to the temple establishment in Jerusalem. They are often viewed as politically accommodating to Rome. They were scripturally conservative, accepting only the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses, as authoritative. Because they accepted only the Torah, and because the Torah seems to lack, in their view, explicit references to a resurrection of the dead, they denied its legitimacy. They rejected books like Daniel, Isaiah, and others, where resurrection is hinted at or taught more clearly, like Daniel 12:2 or Isaiah 26:19. Their worldview was likely this worldly and present-focused piety and reward happen in this life, not after death. Some have suggested that they were influenced by Hellenistic Greek thought, especially Epicureanism, which emphasized the finality of death and rejected an afterlife. Others say that their theology was more of a conservative literalism. They simply didn't find the resurrection in their accepted scripture, so they didn't believe in it. We can see clear examples of their views in Matthew 22, verse 23 to 33, as well as the parallel passages in the other synoptic gospels. The Sadducees challenged Jesus with a hypothetical. A woman marries 7 brothers, each dying childless. So whose wife will she be in the resurrection? Their goal was to mock the idea of a bodily resurrection by making it sound absurd. Jesus rebuked their ignorance. You know neither the scriptures nor the power of God. Jesus taught that the resurrection life is different. No marriage in a resurrection. Cites Exodus 3:6. I am the God of Abraham, to argue for resurrection. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. This was brilliant, because it's from Exodus, a book the Sadducees accepted. So Jesus was arguing on their terms. Now, we're not going to argue or explain the differences between the views of the Sadducees and the Pharisees. The Pharisees, of course, did believe in the resurrection of the dead, as Paul clearly stated in the book of Acts. During the time of the early church, Paul discusses people who said there is no resurrection of the dead. He discusses this in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 12. They likely did not deny Christ's resurrection, at least explicitly, but rejected the idea that others would be raised. Who knows why they believed it, but we can take some attempts at a guess. They had a Greek influence, a view of the body as corrupt or inferior. Or they would have been a spiritualized gospel they believed in, thinking believers already had all they needed in the present. But what was Paul's response to this? 1 Corinthians 15, 16 through 17. If the dead are not raised, then Christ is not raised. And if Christ is not raised, your faith is futile. Verses 16 to 17 of Corinthians 15. There were two people who were mentioned by name: Hymenaeus and Philetus in 2 Timothy 2, verse 17 to 18. Paul calls out Hymenaeus and Philetus by name. He says, who have answered or swerved from the truth, saying that the resurrection has already happened. This likely refers to a spiritual or metaphorical reinterpretation of the resurrection, possibly claiming that spiritual enlightenment or regeneration was the resurrection, denying any future bodily resurrection. Paul calls their teaching gangrenous and says it overthrows the faith of some. We will continue with this series, Lord willing, tomorrow.